You know what time it is.
What's up, beer people?
If you heard it on the hashtag Beer Town, it's true.
It must be true.
It's true. It is fact. Please, won't you name one of your beers Cart Horse?
And just do something terrible. Just brew shit beer.
Stick your finger in there every now and again.
Stir it with the sock.
Every show, it feels like my first show.
Every show is a new adventure.
Having some good conversation here, Mr. Troy.
Did I make sense there? I think I did.
I love them all.
Are we all fair?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 38 of Hashtag Beer Time with me, T-Bone Troy. On this show, we have Nick and Anna from Drifter Brewing Company in Cape Town. And they are quite possibly one of the most loved couples in Cape Town at the moment, just because they're so passionate and clued up about their brand, about beer, about the industry as a whole. And it's an absolute pleasure to have them on my show. This is actually Nick's, I think, third time on the show, and Anna's first time. But be that as it may, the show is fantastic. We talk about a heap of different things. Some things which you will probably be interested in. One of them being the Beavertown takeover. We talk about witches in beer, where witches came from. We talk about brewing in the USA and why they're brewing with so many different brewers in the US. They also talk about smoked beer. We talk about their Doppelbock and how they wanted to make an Icebock, how that changed and how they will still make that. We talk about their Ocean Age beer. We talk about how to make a bacon beer, their new centrifuge, their new equipment. And lastly, we'll also talk about their equity, the crowdfunding campaign that they did. The first successful one in South Africa. So it's a wide-ranging show where we talk about a few things, but we also get to try some awesome beers. So I'll let you guys get on with it. As always, let me know what you think. Cheers. And it is a Tuesday. It's 2 o'clock, and you know what time it is. It's time for Hashtag Beer Time with me, T-Bone Troy. I'm just going to adjust my mic here while we have some music in the background. No, let's cut the music. We've had enough of the music. Always a technical issue on the show, but oh my god. How's that? Ooh.
Much better.
Ooh. Let's turn that up. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a bit of a manic start. We've had to adjust a few things in the studio, but never mind. All that matters now is that we're on the show. We're live. Hello, welcome to Ocean's Vibe Radio. It's me, T-Bone Troy, tuning in live. I'm going to drink some beers today. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a really nice intro about dreaming. The dream that I had, but the whole thing was that I was drifting in and out of consciousness, and that's kind of how I was going to introduce you guys. But let's just cut the bullshit, guys. Nick, Anna from Drifter Brewing Company, welcome back into the studio.
Thank you for having us, as always.
Yeah, Nick, this is your third time.
Indeed.
So third time lucky, and Anna, your first time.
First time.
Welcome. I've just noticed now your color combination. I've just noticed you've been very kind enough to bring us some beanies into the studio. We'll definitely get a selfie. But Nick, you've got a grey beanie on, and you've got a grey blanket jersey
From Portland.
Yes, thank you. And Anna, you've got a maroon beanie with a maroon floral top.
Mm-hmm.
You guys look fantastic.
Oh, thank you, sir.
We try.
Guys, first things first. Let's take it off with a beer. What are we drinking first?
Okay, well, as always, when we're drinking beer, we'll start with the lightest beer and move on to the more alcoholic beverages. So, tried and true classic, the Legend Lager. What's exciting about this is that this is one of our first packaged beers that has been centrifuged.
Now, I know we've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot of interesting things that I want to talk about. But from what I recall, I don't think we've had this on the show.
What, the lager?
I don't think we've had the lager.
Yeah, we probably haven't.
We probably skipped it the first time for whatever reason. But how many? Just remind us how many beers you have in your stable.
We have 5 permanent beers, with seasonals and crazy collabs every couple of months.
And the gin and tonic, the Buku gin and tonic.
Ooh, I've tasted the Buku gin and tonic, and it is it's tempting. It's tempting to move away from beer into different alcohol, but I'll have it every now and again. Guys, cheers! Thank you for joining us.
Cheers! Thank you for having us. So the Legend Lager.
Talk to us about this beer. What makes it different from any other lager?
Well, first of all, we use a large variety of malts. Sorry, so it's quite a complex malt bill.
Yeah.
5 different types of malts. Then hops in this beer. Surprisingly, we actually use Mosaic hops from Washington State, which is not something that most people do. They're usually going to use a noble hop from Germany, but we like to change things up a little when we brew beers. Brewed in honor of Legend, our old hound. So as you'll see on the bottle, there's Legend, sporting a beautiful red bandana.
Beautiful.
And you can also see him on my back, if you'd like to see my back.
Yeah, why not? I mean, flip it. This is why we should have a webcam in here. Oh, that is beautiful. Okay, so it's exactly if for people listening and who you can Google the Legend Lager from Drifter, and you can actually see that's what the tattoo is. That's very cool.
And there are a number of other people with this tattoo as well. So what we try and do is we encourage anyone who's a fan of Drifter to get a tattoo of any one of the characters. So at the moment we've got a guy out there with a scallywag tattoo on his whole arm.
Nice.
And then there's myself and one of my friends have the Legend Lager on our back. And the idea is this summer we're going to do a event at the brewery whereby we'll have a live tattoo artist throughout the whole day, and people come and drink and they get a free tattoo. But it has to be one of the characters.
I'd imagine they'd have to drink a little bit to summon up the courage to get a tattoo. I'm just trying to think if you can just turn the bottles. Okay, I won't get the dog. Let's see what else. What's the other one? Oh, I might get the ship. I might get a... No, you've named... Drifter is the name of your boat, right? And you've explained the story before on the show. Do you still have Drifter? Mm-hmm. Where's she parked? At the park? Is that a correct...
She's docked.
Docked?
At Royal Cape Yacht Club at the moment.
Okay.
And that is her home.
But probably since the last time you were on the show, you hadn't talked about the voyage to get her around.
No.
Where did you have to
So
go?
we had the boat in False Bay, and we took her out of the water for a few months because we were repairing her.
Okay.
She's very, very old.
It's a she?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's
all boats she?
Usually.
Okay.
And so she has a very old vessel, so over 35 years old. So we had to take her out of the water and replace a bunch of steel sections on her hull. We actually did 22 sections. We cut out and patched her up, popped her back in the water, and she floated.
Nice.
And then, we were very excited about that. And the day we actually brought her around Cape Point, ended up blowing 55 knots. So it was quite a big storm.
Wow.
It was really fun.
And she handled it.
She handled it.
Yeah.
My crew didn't handle it very well. So I was on the helm with waves breaking over the boat.
How many
drinking
in the crew?
Smoked porters.
How many?
There were 6 of us.
Okay.
I was not there. I was not on the boat.
Yeah, I don't know if I can handle... I don't think I have sea legs. I do have beer legs, though.
Yeah.
This is delicious beer. I'm trying... I think when you said that... you said it was the American hops that you used.
Mm-hmm. Mosaic.
I don't know if it's given me... It's, you know, when your mind plays tricks on you. When someone says, oh, no, you're going to pick up this, then your mind automatically goes there. There is that uniqueness. It's like, okay, it's a lager, but wait, there's something that you've tweaked, and it's, I suppose, even if you didn't tell me what specialty hops you used, I'd still say this is a bit different. But that's...
And then it's brewed with our house lager strain, which we've developed in-house. It's basically a mutation from a California ale strain from a famous yeast lab in America.
You can say that. You can if you want. Are you allowed to? Is it a secret?
Possibly.
Ooh, okay.
No, it's not a secret. So that's our house lager strain, and we've got our lab running in full force now at the brewery. So we're able to reuse our yeast up to about 10, 11, 12 generations even.
Okay, so when you say generation, that's a batch.
Yeah, so we start with a fresh batch of yeast, and we brew a beer and then we take it off and we brew another beer and then we take it off and brew another beer over and over again. And as those generations move up in numbers, the yeast sort of adapts to your brewery environment and actually gets better.
So is there I'm just going to adjust my mic. Hold on. I'm just going to find a sweet spot. Is that there we go. Hold on. Hello. There
Hi.
we go. Much better. Okay, so is there a limit to how many times you can reuse your yeast?
Definitely. It all depends on the scope.
100. Can I use it 100 times?
You can use it 100,000 times if you have a really good lab. Look at SAB, for example. They use the same strain over and over again. And a number of breweries in South Africa have actually done this successfully. Triggerfish, for one, I know they've got like a house strain, so all of their beers use the same yeast, and they've continuously propagate up and up from the master strain. But it all depends on the capabilities of your lab. If you're pitching with dry yeast into a fresh batch, you're usually not going to go more than 4 or 5 generations. Mm-hmm. But pitching from a proper slurry that's come from a propagation lab, you can get up to, like I say, 10 or more generations. The most important thing is that every time before you use that yeast, you are testing the viability and the cell counts and making sure everything's on track in terms of your fermentation of the previous brew. If there's any issues with fermentation, then you need to start from a fresh slurry again.
So not to harbour on the yeast factor, but just for my own selfish beer nerd needs, what's the main purpose? Is it just to save costs? To reuse?
100%.
I'm just thinking from a homebrew perspective.
Saves costs and logistics, yeah.
Okay, so it really does, I suppose, when you're using a 1,000-litre batch versus a 50-litre batch, it can actually save you.
Well, if you're doing a 5,000-litre batch, for sure.
Yeah. What's your capacity at now?
So we do have some 5,000-litre tanks, and when we brew into those, we always use third or fourth or higher generations, because obviously when you're doing a 1,000-litre brew, you're going to pitch maybe around 15 litres of slurry type thing, and then if you're doing a 5,000-litre batch, you need a lot of yeast, and obviously that yeast multiplies, and you've got much more slurry to play with. Yeah, anyway, that's enough on the yeast for now.
I was trying to carry on from your slurry, but I got lost and sidetracked. But I don't want to forget, we want to do a competition. Yes, one beer, and I'm already stumbling. We spoke about it a little bit before the previous weeks. We want to get some tickets away to a little event that's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not a little event. It's a big event.
Well, tell us what I'm talking about.
Woodstock Winter Beer Festival. It's the 4th one.
Year number 4.
Year number 4, and it happens to be on the 4th of August, which is pretty cool.
Let's look at that.
And this year it's at a new venue. It's at the Castle of Good Hope. Good Hops, as Lucy has renamed it.
Yes.
We're excited for this year just because it is in new space, and everyone knows about the castle pretty much. It's central. We can get more people in. And this year, the breweries that are coming, they are really bringing some incredible beers.
We've chatted about it off air, and leading up to today about those brewers. I mean, the guys are really they just put on all the expertise and just going full tilt. And am I correct in saying there's a Mulva pudding?
Stout, Mulva
very
pudding stout.
Okay, and that's Greg at Banana Jam. And okay,
Afro and Dissident.
Greg and Sean.
And Greg and Sean. How many brewers are we getting?
14 in total.
So, am I correct in saying they'll have their usuals on tap, but then they're all going to bring their own special beer?
Yeah, the special batches are only about probably 2 to 4 kegs per brewery, depending on how many they bring. So
once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. So you definitely want to come early that day, because usually they sell those out very quickly
within the first hour or so.
Yes. Well, let's on the spot think of a competition. If anyone's listening right now, lucky you, because you are in line to win a 2 tickets?
2 tickets.
2 tickets.
Perfect.
I think let's use the old Twitter box, and go on there and just tweet #BeerTime, include @Drifter. What should we make them? What should we get them to do?
I always like hearing what people would want to brew themselves. So if they were to brew a crazy winter brew idea, what would it be? There are a couple breweries who haven't figured out what they're going to brew yet, so maybe they could even tag on to that.
So let's do that. Let's say if you want to win tickets, then maybe just tweet to us saying what beer you'd either like to see or what beer you'd like to make.
Or some crazy ingredient you would like in a beer.
And just from what we've spoken about, it seems like a lot of people going into the dark routes.
Winter warmers.
I mean, just like, with the Mulva pudding idea, that's just like so far out there. So come up with something, and I suppose the more original and the more, at the end of the show, if it makes us go, then the one that makes us... yours. Yeah. So just to recap, go onto Twitter. Look at me, I'm showing my age. Click this blue button. And then just remember to tag us, and then you can stand in line to win 2 tickets to this year's Winter Woodstock Beer Festival. WW, brackets, B, close brackets,
Woodstock
F.
Winter Beer Festival.
Yes.
August 4th at the Castle.
Hashtag 2018.
But let's talk more about that. But before we talk a little bit more about that, my beer's empty.
I need to wet my whistle.
Okay, so speaking of winter warmers, we have never had this beer on the show yet. It's our Stormy Smoked Porter.
Ooh.
And let me pour some and then I'll tell you all about it.
Nice, yes. Ooh.
Can I have a glass, please, sir?
You may have my glass with pleasure. So, from what I know, I might be stealing your thunder here, but do you smoke your own malt?
That we do indeed. So that's one of the unique things about this beer, and it really allows us to have as much control as we want in terms of smoked flavor and what we're aiming for in the beer. So it took us a while to develop this recipe. It's actually took us over a year to figure out what we wanted to do with the smoked flavor. There's a whole number of things you can do in smoking beer. There's so many different variables. So firstly, you have different types of wood you can smoke on. You can have different moisture content in the wood. So usually you're spraying with distilled or deionized water onto the wood flakes before you toast them. And then you can also toast at various temperatures for different amounts of time.
Why can't I just go get normal water and just spray on there?
Normal water has a lot of chlorine in it, and that sort of can come off into the malt and give you off characters in the beer when you brew with it. So ideally, you don't ever want any chlorine in your water. That's why you're usually using...
Where does one get deionized water from?
You can grab it from any sort of chemist or store. I mean, if you don't have deionized water, you can just boil some water and then cool it and use that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that'll also work. And then obviously how much time you're going to smoke the malt for and at what temperature. And also what sort of smoking technique you're using. There's a number of incredible ways of smoking your own grain at home. If you can just Google smoking your own grain, you can build your own very simple system on a Weber.
Started.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a friend with a little smokery that they did for chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was like a little home smokery, and we tested some batches in there, and it was great. But then obviously once you're getting to the levels that we were getting at of volume,
scale,
yes,
it's a little hard to go into this tiny little smokery.
So now what we do at Drifter is we actually use a old German smoking machine at a local butchery.
Okay.
And they allow us to use their machine, and we've developed that whole system.
And sorry, I don't know if you said it, the type of wood that you use.
We actually smoke on German beechwood.
Okay.
Yeah. So give us a taste. Tell us what you're tasting.
Well, I am looking at a very deliciously dark beer. Off-white head, creamy. So the silence is because I'm sniffing people, but long listeners of the show should know this. When there's a silence, it means I'm thinking.
So this beer was also inspired by Alaskan Brewing Company's smoked porter. And I insisted on getting a dark beer into our range last year. I love dark beers and I love smoked beers. And so we were inspired by the Alaskan one. And then we only launched this at the Woodstock Winter Beer Festival last year, actually. So it's
been on the market for almost a year now.
Almost a year. Happy birthday, little guy.
The Stormy Smoked Porter.
This is amazing. And, when the tendency is when people mention a smoked beer, doesn't matter if it's a porter or stout, when they used any type of smoked malt, unfortunately there's a tendency for them to overuse that specific ingredients.
Just needs to be subtle.
And so you think, oh God, I don't want it to be too smoky. I don't want it to taste like an ashtray or whatever. And having said that, I think you guys have absolutely nailed your grain bill in terms of your ratios and that subtlety. Because it's not, I can't even sniff it. Like, when I sniff it, I get the dark malt, the chocolates, the little bit of coffee maybe. And only when I drink it, I get that little bit of hits of smokiness.
Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted it to be subtle and still a sessionable beer. So at 6%, it's actually surprisingly easy drinking in winter.
And I tell you what makes it sessionable. It's to compare, if I'm allowed to compare to a similar brand, it's almost got the same kind of consistency as a Guinness. Canned Guinness, because it's not high carbonation. It's the same kind of body. And I say this because I'm going through a bit of a Guinness streak at the moment. But it does have that sessionability, which I think Guinness has. You don't mind that I compare it? Or
Not at all.
Gosh,
made it
no.
all, yeah. But what I did want to talk about, and Anna, you can help me here. You said you were inspired by Alaskan brewery.
Yes.
Now I know that there were 2 witches that were inspired by this beer.
Yes.
Or a similar beer. Can you? Oh, she's back. Well, there have been a few photos circulating social media of you and your other drifter partner who were brewing up a concoction. Can you talk to us about that?
Definitely.
Tell the folks listening.
I actually don't know what spurred this idea. Besides that, I do love dark beers, and with the cool thing about the Woodstock Winter Beer Festival is it gets your mind churning about, okay, what can we do differently? And maybe 6 weeks ago or a month ago, I thought, okay, brewing in a potjie pot. Has anyone ever done that? We're in South Africa. This is such a classic thing to do in winter, is make a big potjie. And my first thought was to talk to Greg and Carl from Beer Country, because they are potjie masters. And so I messaged Greg, and he was like, oh my God, I have been waiting for someone to spur this idea, because he's been thinking about it for a while. So we decided, like, let's collaborate, because as much as I love beer, I'm not necessarily the best brewer myself. So we got together with you, Troy, and
That's me.
And, the collaboration started, and the great thing about the guys at Beer Country and yourself is that we're all kind of doers, so we just set a date, made it happen, and on the morning of, Zan and I decided, let's go buy some witch hats, because a potjie pot is just so, like, classically Halloween-esque to me from America. And so we got these witch hats, and then the whole day we were, then it just spiraled from there. So it's kind of turned into the potjie potion beer, which is currently fermenting. And so unfortunately we don't have it here to taste today, but
if people want to try it,
Woodstock Winter Beer Fest 2018.
Yep.
And tell us more a little bit about the brewing process, you two. Did you mash and boil in the potjie pot? How did it work?
So Greg wanted the whole process in the potjie as much as possible. So which meant we had to do a brew in a bag kind of technique. So we've got a massive muslin cloth kind of bag where we put the grain in, put the water in, let it sit for a bit, and then we pulled it out. I wasn't too happy with the efficiency, meaning I didn't get as much sugars as I wanted, but we didn't add as much water, and then we got the gravity that we wanted in the end, kind of thing.
And you were able to hold a consistent boil with a fire under it.
Yes, and at times there was a bit of a rolling boil. So for the people listening, you must imagine this cast iron pot with a rounded bottom, so to speak.
And it was a size
and it's huge.
20? What's
20, which so the size 20.
55 liters or something.
Yeah.
It's
massive.
It's massive. It's difficult to pick up, so we had to be very careful about, or just know where we were going to put it, so we couldn't move it. So I suppose time will tell. We'll see what it tastes like in about 2-3 weeks.
And I hear stories of some crazy things going in for dry hopping.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Is that a secret, or are you going to let us know?
Oh, I don't know.
No, let's tell the people.
Yeah.
We've got a competition
Yeah,
running.
you can describe the next.
I'm trying to remember what we put in.
The bait.
So it's only going to go into the secondary. And what Greg is doing, he's bought a bottle of cheap bourbon, and he's going to cook some bacon, and then he's actually going to, I don't know if he's going to squeeze or crush, or he's going to basically soak that cooked bacon in the bourbon for about a few days, and then let all those bacon flavors get extracted, and he's going to add that bourbon into the secondary. So I suppose the correct name for this beer is a bacon bourbon smoked porter. Poiky
porter.
Porky Porter. Yeah.
It's quite a mouthful. I think
Love going in there.
Yeah,
I'm excited to taste it.
If people can say that 5 times quickly at the fest, we might give them a free beer. But yeah, so that's very exciting. And Greg seems to think no one's really done a Poiky beer. But I think there are a lot of, we're discussing on the day, maybe a Western beer. But I think there's a lot of traditional African beers that have been made.
Or historically, when that was the only thing that you would have maybe to cook in. So,
speaking of historically, now I've said this story before on my show, but what I liked about you girls bringing your witches' hats was the fact that that the whole relationship with witches and brewing is an urban legend, but it's, that was believed that women were the initial brewers who brewed in homes, and what happened was that, when brewing started becoming a bit more commercialized, there was this stereotype to scare off people going into the houses. They'd rather have them go to pubs and stuff like that. And that's where this whole witch analogy came from. I don't know if you've heard that story before.
No.
Mr. Nick, have you heard that? Okay, well, I have read it somewhere.
The history of the witch.
The history of the witch. God damn it, I really must brush up on my facts.
Your witch history.
Yeah, my witch history. Just going to go Google that. But yeah, so that's what I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interest. It was for me because this time period always feels like it should be October weather. But the day that we were brewing, the leaves were blowing around. We had Harry Potter music going in the background. It really felt like Halloween was alive in Cape Town.
And the smoking and everything was very eerie.
Yeah, no, we had a lot of fun.
My dark hoodie, I look like, what do you call them?
A Dementor.
Dementor, yeah. Ooh, I sometimes act demented. But, guys, this beer is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to our kind of play on it. Our Poiky play on it at the WWBF. I'm just going to abbreviate it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Done.
There we go. And yeah, so if people want to try some of that, they have to come down to the festival on the 4th of August. Let's take a bit of a music break. I've got some good music lined up here. Anyway, we'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Cheerio.
Ciao, ciao. Okay, let's get back to hashtag beer time. What do you mean? What is this? This is your youth.
Gummy bears, dancing here and there and everywhere.
That's what we should make a beer with.
Oh, you see, there's a reason.
Inspiration.
There's a reason why things happen on hashtag beer time, whether I intend it or not. Welcome back. That sound is a delicious beer being poured. What beer is that, Mr. Nick?
This is a Scallywag IPA,
Mr.
bold
Nick from
as
Drifter.
the Seven Seas.
So, we've had this on the show before, but now tell me, why is it different from the last time?
Well, we have now introduced an incredible piece of machinery in the brewery, which is going to help us in terms of our shelf life and stability of our product. It is a beer centrifuge.
Ooh.
So as far as I'm aware, it's, I think, one of the first beer centrifuges coming into South Africa in a small microbrewery setting. and basically it allows us to separate the yeast from the beer, and it'll...
Okay, so push pause. I'm trying to imagine, and let's try and help the people listening. Where is this happening in the brewing process?
Okay, so post-fermentation, the beer's already fermented.
Primary fermentation.
Yeah.
Okay. It's in the tank.
Yeah,
Fermented, big tank,
It's in the big tank. It's already we've already diacetyl rested, and now we've cold crashed, so the beer's cold. It's at 2 degrees, and what we do is then
The yeast is not active. Sorry to keep
the yeast is not
Yeast
active.
not- okay.
Fermentation's done.
Cool.
What we then do is, instead of traditional forms of filtration, which most breweries use, such as diatomaceous earth filters, a centrifuge doesn't use any nasty fossil fuels like diatomaceous earth or anything from the earth. So there's no raw ingredients that you're wasting. And you also don't waste as much beer at all. You're wasting, on average, around 2 to 3%, whereas diatomaceous earth filtration, you can waste more than 10% even.
Okay.
And so the advantages are, number one, no running expenses like raw materials.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, less wastage. And number three, you don't affect your beer flavor. And this is specifically important for us in our hoppy beers, such as an IPA.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're doing is you're not filtering the beer, you're separating it. So the beer moves from that tank through a pipe into a centrifuge. And inside the centrifuge, it's got a series of conical discs. So basically, the beer enters the cylinder that's spinning very, very fast at 10,000 RPMs.
Okay.
And what happens is all the solids go to the outside, and all the clear beer stays in the inside. Centrifugal force. You spin around. And that's it in a nutshell. That's how it
And it
works.
sounds like a rocket ship taking off when it,
Oh, really?
when it starts.
How big is this? Like a meter?
Sure. Yeah, about as half the size of the room.
Oh, wow. That's
It's-
okay.
But not tall.
Okay.
Not that
But
tall.
that's okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay, so I'm just trying to imagine like a big drum and just spinning around. Well, I will say that
And
I'm picking up some delicious hoppy notes.
yeah, so what it does also for hop character in beers, it really refines the hop character and it sort of changes it in a positive way.
clarity.
And then obviously the clarity is affected.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark here, but are you using American hops?
Of course.
I've said on the show before, but you can pick up
Many American hops.
Western American hop versus hop from around the world.
So yeah, this is definitely a West Coast style IPA, American West Coast style.
Now you've been doing a little bit of traveling. You
Always.
speaking of the West, you've got friends in the West. You've got breweries that you've worked with, collaborated with.
Yeah, so we actually have 5 collaboration brews on the cards this year with American breweries.
Ooh.
So we'll be having a very busy,
Still to come.
very busy October season over in the States.
Yeah.
Lovely. Do you need someone to carry your bags?
Sure.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. But now, last time I heard you were in Alaska of all places, setting up a brewery.
Yeah, so that brewery is all up and running now. It's 2 of my good friends, Evan and Ryan. They are some of the guys that taught me how to brew when I used to live in Oregon and a banana. And they
What's the
they've
brewery's
set
name?
up their own project now. It's called Devil's Club Brewing Company.
Devil's Club.
And Devil's
Which
Club
is-
is a famous plant that grows all over Alaska.
What kind of plant? Like a herb?
Yeah, it's
Herb?
like a bush, like a Brussels, and grows in all the mountains, and you can actually cook with it. And
Can you
also-
brew with it?
They're about to do some crazy brews with it as well. They also use Alaskan spruce tips instead of hops for some of their beers.
Nice.
Very, very advanced brewers.
Beautiful
They're
size.
extremely knowledgeable, and we were lucky enough to get the contract to build all of their brewing equipment. So
Nice. So that's Devil's Club in Alaska.
yeah,
Alaska's quite big.
Juneau. In Juneau. So
Juneau, the capital.
Okay.
which is an island south of the rest of the state. Only 30,000 people. You can only get there by plane and ferry. So it's a little island. Yeah.
And then every summer
But
they
you
have
can't drive it.
every summer they have over 1 million people come through, tourists.
On cruise ships and stuff. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Come into the brewery,
Yeah.
drink some beer, buy
Oh,
some merch, and figure.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm stoked that you're doing some traveling and that you
Yeah, I think it's one
mingling
of the,
with our American
I think
listeners.
It's one of the things more breweries and brewers in South Africa need to do is to get over to the States, spend some time with other brewers, and really see what they're doing to learn.
Yes.
I mean, they're definitely the pinnacle of craft beer.
You know what
The more you can learn, the better.
what I want to see in our industry is a bit more of a brewer exchange. I think it doesn't happen enough. I don't think it happens at all. You know, you might get a guy coming over from from the States, from a big brewery, to come and do a talk or presentation for a conference. But I'd like to see a lot of the small American brewers come here and do a bit of a brew.
Yeah, so we did the first
brews.
one last year. We launched that
Eastside Dark Lager.
Eastside Dark Lager, Lakefront Brewing Company. So Ross, brewer over there, came over here, and then I went over to Lakefront Brewery in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We brewed the coconut beer over there, which was pretty awesome. And yeah,
Lakefront's been around for a while, 30
30
years.
years, yeah.
Yeah,
They're not new.
they're not small either, but they've.
And that's where our sales director, Zan, is from, and she used to work at Lakefront. So
Okay,
she's
cool.
got a brewery background too, yeah.
So she knows her stuff. Now, speaking of working with other brewers, working with other breweries, the latest news of this past week was Beavertown working with Heineken, or more specifically, selling a certain percentage of their business to Heineken so that they could build a new brewery.
Sure.
I believe the brewery is, I forget now, it's either somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, like it's the same, very similar concept to what they've done with most of the good craft breweries they've merged or bought over, such as 10 Barrel Brewing Company out of Bend, Oregon. And of course, there's pros and cons to something like this happening. And in markets where the craft beer industry is a lot more developed, such as the US or even Europe, people do throw their hands up in the air and say, we're not supporting this brand anymore.
Yeah.
But in terms of a brewing business, it's definitely very valuable for them. I mean, it helps them. They have now a global network reach, distribution. They've got capital at their disposal to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I think it all depends on the deal and how it affects the running of the business.
It's I find it so fascinating that I even want to go one step further and actually go and study this psychology behind why people think this way. I'm talking about the consumer, and I imagine things like these, that they're big decisions, and that people think about them, but they also think about what's best.
Yeah.
I struggle to believe that they try and find what's best for themselves over what's best for beer and what's best for
what's best for the
staff.
industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
for the industry, it's a bit of a knock for sure. They've gone to the second biggest basket. I mean, Heineken owns, don't quote me, but I think it's over 270 craft beer brands worldwide now.
Yeah.
So they've joined that big basket.
I heard it's close to 300.
Oh, really? Yeah. And so
3 in South Africa.
3, yeah.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
3 in South Africa. And yeah, it's definitely a knock for the whole industry worldwide. It's sad.
It is sad, but I think
Whether people are overreacting
I think it's hard to tell now, but I think in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, you're going to look back and people are going to wonder, well, do we have good beer now? At the end of the day, it's beer. Let's get as many people drinking good beer, different beer, craft, whether it's craft or crafty beer. This is a hashtag opinion, and it's my show, so I think last time I checked, I could give my opinion. As long as more people are being exposed to delicious beers, different kinds of beers, I think that will definitely grow the category of beer.
Well, that's exactly it, and I think you've said it right there. It also depends on how big the market is in those countries. So here in South Africa, it's a great thing for bigger brands to merge with smaller craft breweries, because it gets more people over to craft beer. The price points come down. People will walk into the bottle store and instead of buying that watery beer in a green bottle, they're going to look over and they can spend $4 more and try this new beer. And if they like it, they'll come back and then try a bunch of other craft beers.
No, exactly.
So it helps us as an industry. But in terms of say the States, for instance, the industry is already over 24% of all beer consumed is craft. So there it's more of the big guys just gobbling up the little guys.
No, and that's a great point. I think South Africa is very different from the UK, from Europe, from the US in terms of the markets. When Lagunitas came over here and presented at Jack Black, because they were also part of the Heineken stable, there might have been like 1 out of 100 people who were like against it, but the majority of people were like, cool, let's see what new beers we're going to get. Let's see if there's going to be different things. And
yeah, it's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one. As long as As long as we're getting good beer.
And as long as there's space in the local retail and on-con and off-con markets in South Africa for the little guys like us and all the other breweries to be able to
10%
exhibit our products.
That's the legal requirement for craft brewers in any trade. And that's from the South African Commission of Competition.
Competition Commission, yeah.
Competition Commission. SAB and Heineken legally have to give craft brewers 10% shelf space, which is not a lot shelf space, but
at least there's some standards.
Considering our market is only 1%,
yeah.
Hey, that's
I didn't even know that there was any laws in that, or whether those laws are even being followed. I doubt it very much.
Yes, that's. I think that's a whole other can of worms to open up.
Yeah.
But yeah, things are happening. Things are moving along. But anyway, let's call it a day on that, and let's get back to this delicious beer. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
My glass is empty. I'm
So
ready
is
for
mine.
the next one.
We have time for one more beer, and I won't lie. I've been looking forward to it. When you first mentioned to me a few weeks
Months ago.
Do you mind if I have the honor?
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Because
describe what you're doing there.
I have in front of me. I'm trying to describe the bottle. It's almost like a Belgian 340 ml. I don't know what that is in ounces.
16.04 fluid ounces.
There we go.
Really?
Hey, you're spot on. It's it's like a Belgian shaped bottle. It has a candle wax sealer. It's got a gold wax. A beautiful blue label that says Drifter, of course. Off the dock, Doppelbock, a bourbon barrel aged, delicious beer. Now, how should I open this? Should I just go for that? Should I peel
Today
this
you're the
off?
first person to open one.
Okay, let's. It's like Christmas. This is why I have the show. I say it to all my guests. Thank you.
You should be able to just open
Yeah,
it.
So just
actually,
open
let's
it.
try it. This is actually a good experiment for us.
Okay, let's.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Ooh, nice little tsk there. Okay, while I'm pouring this, just tell the people how old is this? What is this beer?
Okay, so
Why did you make
what
this?
we have here is a barrel-aged beer. First of all, barrel-aged beers are very big in the States and all sorts of other more established craft beer industries, and it's up and coming here in South Africa, which we're very excited about. What we've done here is we've gotten a bunch of first fill bourbon barrels from Kentucky in the States.
Yes, sir.
We got them over to South Africa, and we what we've done here is we've brewed a old German style of beer called a Doppelbock, 10% alcohol ABV, and with that we've then aged it in the bourbon barrels for just over 3 months, and now it's packaged in its new home in this beautiful little baby champagne bottle. We got the bottles from Italy.
Correct me if I'm. That's it. It's an Italian bottle. Correct me if I'm wrong. Doppelbock, is it loosely translated as a double bock beer?
Yeah, so
Or
it's,
can be perceived as one?
so it's a cousin of the Eisbock.
Yeah.
So what we were actually trying to do is we were going to be brewing a German-style Eisbock, and the name was going to be Tip of the Eisbock.
Which we're still going to do. So,
We're still going to do.
yeah.
But as
No one steal that idea.
No, you've said it, and it's legal now on #BeerTime.
we are going to do it. And so we tried to Eisbock this beer, but an Eisbocking means you freeze it. So what you do is the beer freezes, and then you suck the inside, so the sides of the tank and the top will freeze. You take the insides out, and the rest is like liquid water, basically.
You chuck it.
And you can make a non-alcoholic beer with it or something. And then what actually happens is the ABV goes up in alcohol. So this is how they used to actually distill during Prohibition. It's a way of distilling. And Brewdogs have been very successful at doing this and making the strongest beer in the world. They did it over and over again. But what we find is even on a commercial brew setting such as ours, we kept this beer at -6, -7 degrees Celsius for 2 weeks. Still didn't freeze. So what we're going to be doing next time we do the Eisbock is we're going to have to put it in another vessel and take it to a commercial freezer facility where we can get it to -40 degrees Celsius. And then we'll have a proper Eisbock. So we're holding that idea for a future project. But this beautiful, beautiful beer has come about from this experimental process and this barrel aging over the last 3 to 4 months.
I mean, we even talked about putting habaneros in the beer, and it's been a work in progress.
Good
right?
project. And what we're very, very happy with the finished product. So it's a very delicate balance of the bourbon flavors with all of the malt complexity of the Doppelbock. And
Say hi.
hi.
Taking a photo.
Hey.
Tell us what you're tasting and smelling, Troy.
Okay, so let's go through this. I've got a nice. It's not completely opaque. I've got a little bit of a dark maroon. Slightly.
Yeah,
It's clear.
It's not as dark as the smoked porter.
But I'm definitely getting that.
It's got a slight
Woody-
red tinge from the
Yeah,
barrel.
I'm getting that woody. I'm getting a woody. Let me have a sip quickly. My apologies. I have been drinking. Ooh, I need another sip just to kind of think about
Troy
it.
is clearly in his element here.
What I like about it is it's boozy, but it's not overwhelming. Like, it's not like you take a sip and you're like, oh, slap in the face kind of booze
No, it's definitely
central. It's
definitely smooth and very drinkable for what it is. 10%
for being
alcohol.
10%. Yeah.
I don't know how to say this, and I don't know if it even exists. People are going to laugh at me for even suggesting something like this, but this is a sessionable 10% beer.
Exactly.
It's got that smoothness and that sessionability that it's just wow. Like, and again, it's a nice. Actually, we maybe should have had the smoky porter then this, because it's almost like a big brother. It's smooth. It's easy to drink. That bourbon flavor that you want is subtle, and it's. Oh, this is a dangerous beer, actually.
And so, yeah, we're looking to launch it in about 2 to 3 weeks' time. It'll be available at all good retail stores in South Africa.
As well as at the brewery.
As well as at the brewery, of course. And it's only packaged in this 330ml little mini champagne bottle, and it's obviously a limited release.
Cool. Are you
excited about it?
Is this the label? You're going to change a little bit?
We're working on the label still.
Changing it slightly just to pop more, because do you want to share that?
Some
already went off.
You want to use my face on the front. I've given away the secrets.
No, fine.
Okay, well, but people can still look out for it, and it's coming soon.
Yes, very soon.
Now, speaking of special beers, I was leaving the house this morning, and I noticed I still have a 750ml bottle of the Underwater ocean-aged beer.
Funny you say that. We just spent a couple of days last week diving to check on some beers, and we actually mounted a whole expedition to retrieve 200 bottles that have actually been in another location we dropped over 2 years ago. And
I heard these were potentially lost.
Yeah, they were potentially lost, and we found them. But there's still another 220 that are lost.
Okay, but this is. I think this is for exports.
Yeah, those have already gone off to an export market.
Cool, very cool.
But we do have another release this year of our ocean aged beer. It's a slightly tweaked recipe, and we'll have double the amount of beers we had last year to keep up with the incredible demand for the product. So it's still very limited. Only 2,000 bottles will be coming up, and we're looking to launch those end of October towards November time. And stay tuned for the incredible launch party we're thinking about doing.
Whatever happens to, because I know you had that awesome launch with the beers where you would auction them off. Do you still have? Are you still personally keeping some?
No, we only have 5 bottles in our vault, which we will keep for tasting in 10 years' time.
Nice.
But the demand was too high. All the bottles were gone.
Look at that.
Out the door.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have to do something like that again.
Yeah. So
something even crazier.
We've got many, many interesting things up our sleeves.
Cool. No, well, we're looking forward to it. We are approaching the hour mark. Can you believe it?
What?
So I know there were some things. We still need to find a competition winner. Which, if you haven't done yet, you could win 2 tickets. But we'll go check that now. Please make more barrel-aged beers.
We are planning on it.
Okay, so you're going to...
And if, it's great in this country. The barrel sort of beers are sort of starting to come out now. Nick from Soul Barrel out in Franschhoek apparently makes some incredible beers. If you ever get a chance to go out that way, go visit him. Rory from Aga Project's got some exciting things in barrels that are going to be coming out in the next couple of years. Even the big boys, Devil's Peak, are doing some barrel aging, which is exciting. So I think more and more cool, crazy barrel-aged beers come out, the better. Riot's got some beers coming out as well. They do limited barrel releases. Yeah, it's a fun.
Am I correct in saying all of Riot beers are brewed at Darling?
I'm not sure. You'll have to ask Mark. I know some of their their main core range are, but I'm sure they do smaller batches and other spots as well.
Speaking of Darling, where are you guys this weekend?
Well, we are actually going to the Darling Winter Beer Festival. Very exciting.
Last year it was clashed with you guys.
Yeah.
But Oaks just got double drunk.
Yes.
But yeah, so this weekend at Darling, I think there are quite a few breweries. There are about 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's just on Saturday the 30th, basically 10 to 6 during the day. Popping up there, drink some beers.
It's going to be a great festive occasion. It's such a beautiful venue. They've got an incredible
brewery. And it's always busy.
It's always busy out there, yeah.
It's because they've got a whole market out there. People just come in for the day and just, I suppose, just drink all the beers.
And the weather's looking promising for Saturday, so...
Hold them tight.
Yeah, take a drive out there for the afternoon. It's a beautiful spot, and there's going to be some cool, crazy beers as well.
And if you need a pre-drink on the Friday evening, our Drifter Tasting Room is open every Friday evening from 3 o'clock. So we change the taps often, have small batches.
All sorts of fun beers always going on tap.
You guys are always open Fridays. Are you open any other days to the public?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for summer.
Sure, am I just saying all these things ahead of schedule?
No, it's fine. We're there's quite a few renovations happening to our block, so we're hoping to be open on Saturday afternoons, potentially Sunday afternoons as well. Probably starting in spring, end of winter, spring.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then one last thing we're going to chat about is obviously our equity crowd raise. And we now have a lot more owners of the brewery at Drifter, which we're very, very excited about.
Maybe some of them are listening.
I'm pretty sure some of them are listening.
Good.
But that was amazing. That was... You guys were pretty much the only... brewery in South Africa to be crowdfunded.
Yeah, the first ever business actually in South Africa to do a successful equity crowd raise.
Wow!
So it's quite different from your classic crowdfunding model where you don't get shares in the company, you get a product or something like that. So this one you merely are basically just investing in the company. And so we've got just over 260 investors now, something around that number. Which is very exciting for us. We've always wanted to be a community brand, and it just helps us grow our love for good beers.
Yeah, so I'd imagine it's a stupid question I'm going to ask you, but are you happy? It's
very happy.
It
was a resounding success.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy for you guys, and that's it's awesome. I want you guys to keep making awesome beers. I want you to keep doing these collabs because that's exciting.
Stay tuned. Many this year coming out.
And let's keep making some more beers, some Potjie beers.
Some Potjie potion.
Let's do some stuff. let's go through some of these tweets.
Yeah, I saw
a couple of them. we can decide. And hey, if they're good, then maybe they deserve a ticket.
Totally.
Okay, so Mr. White on Rice says, I want to see someone brew a marshmallow Horlicks and coffee porter.
Ooh.
Those together.
Yeah, why not?
Wow.
Roly Beer Geek says, hey, #beertime and Drifter, here are my brew ideas. Irish coffee stout. Oh, okay, he's put in a few. He's so sneaky. Hey, he wants an Irish coffee stout. He wants a smoked lamb stew lager.
Ooh.
In a Potjie pot.
Yes. Gingerbread man Kolsch. I know someone's making a gingerbread.
Yes, Stone Circle.
Pumpkin spice milk stout. Hope to see you all there. Let's wait and see, Roly. Let's wait and see. Bear Bar Beyond says, I'd like to see a cereal milk stout. If it could be Imperial, that would be even better. I know that there's a place in New York that's had this whole cereal milk vibe, milkshake, and that's quite interesting. I wonder what cereal would use. What was your favorite cereal?
Cocoa Pops.
Cocoa Pops.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I like Frosties.
We don't get that in this country.
Yeah, but Cinnamon Toast Crunch beer would be awesome.
Imagine a Frosties, but Frosties as much as sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar
beer.
Sugar and crunch.
Sugary milky beer. Let's see if there's anyone else. Rolly's just punting us. Thank you, Curtis. Cocoa Pops Porter.
Oh.
Other brands available. What? We got so what's
So people want a cereal beer.
a cereal beer?
People are still thinking about breakfast and it's lunchtime.
I'm trying to think of what other cereals. Weet-Bix? No, that's just that's what I had growing up. Pronutro, maybe, but a lot of the mash already smells like Pronutro.
Egg and bacon.
Yeah, egg and bacon breakfast.
Captain Crunch.
So who you feeling is deserved of 2 tickets?
Ooh.
It falls on you. I'm not.
I think it's your show. You're gonna have to be
No,
there.
Yeah.
throw this on me.
Shall we? Do we have time to put a song on and then vote and then come back?
No, let's just pick now. We've
Okay,
got
let's
1,
pick now. Fine.
2,
It's just
3.
4.
There are 4 people who voted.
Okay.
Let's give 2 away.
Okay.
Let's give 2 double sets away.
Okay.
And I know these other guys, and if they won't be upset with me.
Okay. Remind me again. Okay, so we
Curtis, you're in Joburg. So I want to give 2 tickets to Curtis.
He better be
Great.
coming down for it then.
Cocoa
Yeah.
Pops Porter.
Perfect.
So Curtis, if you can make it down on the 4th of
And
August,
also-
you've got 2 tickets.
and maybe make that beer and bring it down. That would be great.
And let's
'Cause he's
give the other ticket to Andrew from Beer Bar Beyond for the cereal milk idea.
It's a very good
Good
idea.
idea.
So
I agree.
We've been talking
Cool.
about that.
Well deserved.
Done.
To Rolly and White on Rice, you guys know I love you. Yeah. That's the sound of milk falling into my snap, crackle, hop. There's actually a snap crackle hops.
Oh.
Snap. I've seen it somewhere. Snap.
Okay.
It's something else. Anyway, but it does
Amazing.
exist. Guys, it's 4 minutes past 1.
Ooh.
We've had a fabulous time on the show.
Great hour. Some
Um,
delicious beers.
Anna, thank you very much. Wonderful to have you on the show. Nick,
Thank you.
such a pleasure. You bring
Cheers.
such wealth of knowledge.
Oh, I thank
That's,
you, Troy.
My humble self needs to listen to. But guys, again, thank you very much for
Thank you, Troy.
pushing the craft beer brand.
For sure.
For, I suppose, being one of Cape Town's most loved craft beer couples. Thank you very much.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Let's keep playing with some music, and for all our listeners locally and abroad, love you long time. See you guys again soon.
Ciao.
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 Bouncing here and there and everywhere. High adventure that's beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears.
Thanks for listening, guys and girls. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search for #BeerTime. That's #BeerTime written out in full. Hope you enjoyed the show, and check you next time. Cheers.